Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 72. This is the independent musician's guide to navigating the dynamic landscape of production and promotion. Today we're taking a first look at the new and very awesome King of Bass iOS app from AudioKit. They were kind enough to send it over, so we're going to have a deep dive into it. I've got a second camera set up. Let me see if I can just turn it on real quick with the app. So yeah, and that's thanks to our patrons. The show is brought to you by our patrons. If you want to check it out and get additional content and things like that, head to patreon.com/audionautic. The link is in the description. And today we're also talking about some news and updates around Meta's threads. If you didn't get enough of a full episode basically last week, we've got more for you, don't worry. And then some new features from Spotify for artists to take a deeper dive into your fan base analytics. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Curtis. How are you?
Hey, you going with me today? I'm good, brother. Yeah,
I
very
couldn't,
good.
honestly, let me just say, I couldn't remember. Just now I had a flash of like, who do I usually go to first? Is it Eon Lake or Curtis? So I just went with Curtis. I guess I was wrong.
Recently, you've been mixing it up a little bit. Like, it started when we started doing this. You started with Eon Lake, and the past couple of weeks, maybe the last month, you've gone to me first. So maybe that's the ebb and flow of the situation in which we're in. But anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's been good. It's been busy. It's been creative. It's been productive, and yeah, it's been fun. So yeah, that's me. Yeah.
That's awesome. We'll get to Eon Lake in 1 second. We've got some comments. We've got Bendu with, I'm sure it's an emoji on YouTube, but here it's person turquoise waving. Welcome, Bendu. Always happy to have you. Abby is in the chat. How's it going, Abby? We've also got Survey Channel. I'm not sure what the mic with dead is one of our mics too loud? Is mine clipping or something? I'm not sure, but let us know. And then we've also got Maureen's friend. He's at the start, he says. Finally made it. Welcome. Happy to have you. And Hydro Fighter is in a meeting, but he's here. He said, hang on as long as I can. Well, we're happy to have you with us for as long as you can be with us. We miss you on the show, Hydro Fighter. Hope you can make it back. But also with me today is Eon Lake. What's going on?
Hello. I'm not Curtis. You know what he's doing? He's waiting until we get used to it, and then he switches it over.
Yes, just to keep us on our toes. Just be like a little bit like, who am I? You know.
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Hi. I've been struggling a bit this week, so my advice to anyone if they're struggling is get lots of sleep, take lots of vitamins, because we've talked about this before. If you're not good physically, mentally, you don't have any energy, you're going to struggle with music.
That's true. I've been having a rough week, and I know exactly what you mean. Back to this mic drama in the chat. It might be me because I've got the air conditioner on because it's boiling in the shed. I have a reduced noise thing on StreamYard, but if you're hearing some constant white noise, it's probably that. Just consider it ambient background noise, right? You know, we are ambient music makers, so that's just, we're spinning it. But they're saying that it's fixed. I don't know.
We'll see what
but
happens when
they're blaming you, but I'm putting the blame on me, so I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, I just think of it as akin to our tinnitus.
Oh, I can barely hear you, Curtis. Eon Lake, are you getting him?
A little bit, yeah. He's quiet.
I'm quieter than normal.
Yeah, you're very faint. So maybe it is your mic.
I need more, baby. Give me more.
Owing to the notion of doing all our pre-recorded content and our live demos, I've got two audio interfaces here, and I'm actually going through either of them, so I can hear this properly. Maybe.
Why? Just why?
Because that's why. That's what was going through. In the green room we were having a few sound issues. I wasn't getting the sound from the video or from Sunwarper's demo page. So now I'm just going through the audio card of my laptop. I don't know if that's helping, so we'll see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
As long as you can hear me. I mean, maybe it's better you don't hear me, but we'll have to. For now,
I want to hear your take
on a podcast. I'll go with it.
Yeah, I think we'd like to hear you, and I'm sure everyone would like to hear you as well in the chat. But if you don't chat, let us know. We can mute him, you know, if we have to.
Just see you later. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we got a hell of a show. It's lovely to see everyone here. Thank you ever so much for joining us. It's wonderful to see people getting in at the start of the show. If you like what we do, if you are inclined to, please share it on Twitter and let people know that we're out and we're live. We're continuing. This is the second week of our it's the second week of our YouTube experimentation. So this is going to be live, and then we're going to take this down at the end of the live stream and put it back up, as well as putting the podcast out on Wednesday. Someone has got a busy afternoon of it seems.
I just have to download it from StreamYard. Luckily, thanks to our patrons who helped us get the StreamYard Pro, we can just download it right away. No extra editing. So yeah, it'll once it renders, it'll be nice and easy. So yeah, thanks to patrons for that, for easing my life a bit.
They make our lives a lot easier, and it's wonderful. So yeah, shall we dive into the main topic for today?
Yes.
Yes. Now, Sunwolf has been whittling away at this new app from AudioKit Pro. Tell us all about it, Sunwolf.
Yeah, so this is AudioKit King of Bass. So a couple months ago, we covered King of FM from AudioKit, and that was free. This one is $3.99 until July 31st, $9.99 after. It's a bit of a spiritual successor to an 808 and bass app they did a couple of years ago, which I had, and which is awesome. That's actually what turned me on and let me know that AudioKit was making some really cool plugins and things like that. And so just a quick disclaimer, because I know Eon Lake is already looking to give it. They sent the app over, but they have no say in the content, so we're just, everything we do in the video is our own opinions. But a little bit about it before we do some sound demo and walkthrough. Over 300 presets. There's 100 what they call starter sounds to make your own sound. Traditional synth engine, including pulse width modulation, which we all love. Step sequencer, 2 LFOs, and you can change like the type that they're doing. If it re-triggers one shot, you can also modulate. There's a ton of destinations you can choose. You can also have one LFO modulate the other LFO. There's a bass distortion, which they call, I think it's heat and fire, and it gets nasty. There's also a kick it function, which they claim, and we'll test it out. They claim that it can turn any patch into a custom, perfectly tuned kick, because it's a keyboard, right? So you can choose whatever. Let's see, destination, you can morph sounds, wobble, pitch dive, crush them. There's a really cool lo-fi bit crush, tons of stuff. So yeah, that's the basic setup of it. Do we want to do a sound demo that I did in GarageBand first, or do we want to take a look at the app first? Oh, Curtis is just full of jingles and jangles today. Curtis, you, let's hear, and chat, you can let us know too. But what should we do first? What do you want? Deep dive or a actual sound demo? That's probably going to be better audio quality than the 2-camera thing we're running for the sound demo.
I can't believe I'm agonizing over this decision. Just do one. Don't ever ask me to make decisions.
All the responsibility.
Oh God, I just don't.
You're
know.
the wise one here. You're the wise one that just decrees and we follow. I mean, come on, man.
Maybe we should look at it first and then hear it.
Okay, all right, and we can still hear it while we're looking at it. But yeah, all right. So let me add this. So just an FYI, we've got demo then deep dive. Okay, so we've got differing opinions here. So
I'd go with Bendu.
Okay, we'll go with Bendu. So we'll take a quick listen. This was in GarageBand yesterday. I used a 909 from GarageBand and then a bunch of patches of King of Bass, and it's not just bass, as you'll see. So let's listen to that, and then we'll move over. And I'm going to get to some chat after that as well. So that was my never really used GarageBand demo. There's a lot of LFO automation. I'm sorry, on the through the LFO, not automated in GarageBand, but on the filter, as you can hear in those leads. I started with the 808 because I know Curtis is a true lover of 808, so I wanted to show him, hey, this can be done, and it sounds great. Yeah. Anything you guys want to say before we move into the deep dive?
I like it.
You gonna get it?
I do like using bass sounds for lead lines as well. You get a lovely, soft, warm lead. I like it. Yeah. Tell me
Curtis?
more.
You need more. Well, we got you covered for that. Don't worry.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, it looks really lush. Again, soft synth's doing really good and coming out well. That seems really versatile from what you've got, and I do love the 808. So thank you for thinking of it.
I had to. I was like, I got you covered. Don't worry. Don't worry.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm similar to Eon. Like you can obviously use it as a bass, but then you can always pitch it up, and you've got something that's really smooth and polished. So it's nice. Yeah, that sounds really cool. Really cool. Tell us more, Sunwalker.
All right, so let me add this camera, and can you take off that banner?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna see if I can switch to. Hold on 1 second. Let me switch. No, there's no way to switch that one. All right, so we'll just focus on this for a second. So here we go. Sorry if it's a bit grainy. I'm running a 2-computer setup to do this, so that's what we got. Now let me know if you can hear this. You getting that? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
So that is the default 808 first patch. Just a massive.
Nice. That.
Now, I love that that's the first one. As soon as you open it, just. You can see there is a very cool oscillator, or yeah. You can see. I'm sorry. You can see the waveform. Here's the kick it function that they say makes it a drum.
Yeah.
Of course, you get the volume, which is a very mysterious knob. I think it makes things go boom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you raise it, it's louder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So volume, that's the simple one. Here's the kick. So if you go to kick it, let's hear it without it. Kind of sounds similar, but let's turn that on and let's raise this drop.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let's just go all the way extreme. And then you can look at that waveform.
That's beautiful.
Then you can go to the sustain and make it just take forever. Let me.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so then if we drop, let's change the sustain around a little bit. So I dropped the drop all the way, and let's see what sustain does. So it just makes it really ring out a lot. Okay, and then you also get the analog filter, resonance. That car horn was not from the. That was perfectly timed, but it's not from the app.
It was perfect timing, though.
What if it was, though? Here's the heat. So this is distortion, and I'll show some non-808 sounds so you can get a little bit of a better idea of some of these, because this doesn't really do some of these options justice. But so let's crank the fire up.
The way they call it fire.
Yeah, I know. And then there's a lo-fi, and we can change how much bit depth there is and crush it to bits.
Oh,
yeah.
Chip
and
tune,
then here's,
chip tune trap.
if you turn on the LFO, if you hit more, you can change the destination of LFO1. There are tons of options. And then you can set what waveform for the LFO. You can see, I have it right now on the filter, and you can see it just moving, changing rate and the amount. There's also a limiter to help with the sound. So if we go to the oscillator page, you can choose 2 oscillators, and you can have the analog waveforms, or you can go to all these PCM waveforms. Again, there's tons. There's also a ton of analog ones. So you can really mess around. You can change the amount of each layer, which is this middle one. And then also you can link the ADSR for each, or you can have them actually be separate. So you could, let's put that to 50. You can hear that one because I raised the attack. It's coming in late. If we put it at the start, oh, we also have this mega bit crush. There we go. Let me go back actually really quick. This is just one of those ARP sounds that it does. So I'm just going to hold that. There we go. Turn on the LFO. Let's see what the kick it does.
Pendulum. Suddenly we're making pendulum.
We'll put on some crush. I'm going to raise the limiter. Put on the fire. Let's take the LFO off. Raise the resonance. Here's the oscillator. We can turn this one on. Now we've got the second one. We could. It's getting nasty. All right, and then here's the sequencer page. And then there's this Pro page, which has some high-pass filters, chorus, and a very cool delay. Let's just shut it off and see how long it goes. I love that delay.
Ah, it's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
you could just have it as a little bit beast mode, isn't it? Yeah, just have it as this like little extra thing just have in your back pocket. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm using it on an iPad because, well, one, my phone is actually acting as the camera. That's right here. But yeah, you can have it on your phone. But yeah, you can just have all these sounds. I mean, and we just showed 2 of the default patches. There are tons of patches. So here's those starters that says you can kind of start with 808 Life. That's Curtis's motto in life.
There you go.
That's 808 Life. Sorry, let me go back to the Zoom so you guys can see. So
there's the
here we go.
uniformity of the existence right there.
808 Life, 80s retro wave.
Aww.
Let's get that delay back on though. Here we go.
Oh, that's lush.
Let's change the time. Let's go actually slow. Maybe we can get a pad actually real quick. Then we can change this second one. Big friggin' bass. Let's see what Kick It does. We'll just do very slow rate on the LFO.
Suddenly we're in dubby.
Yeah. Okay, let me check if there's anything that I need to cover that I missed. I think we got it all. I love the effects on this thing. But the King of FM also has all those effects, or a lot of them. The Bit Crusher is a ton of fun, especially. And I mean, you could automate the Bit Crusher. There's actually one patch that has the LFO doing the bit depth, like changing the bit from 12-bit, 16, 4, and it just makes it sound chaotic. But yeah, I think that's about everything. Is there anything you guys want me to cover? Any questions?
Well, I have some questions, burning questions, but let us in the chat. Let us know what you guys think. Where you sit with this? We've got the soundtrack of Hackers by from Maureen's friend. That's quite cool. Yeah. That's what you think. Can I take the helm? I've got a burning desire to ask a question.
No, you can't take the helm.
Eon Lake
It's up to Eon Lake. He has to say it, like we talked about.
Yeah. Get the man the helm.
Okay, then you can.
There
We had to get it approved, you know. Chain of
It's
command,
all,
you know.
It is a bureaucracy at the end of the day. It has to be done. Okay. So it sounds like you've been studying this. I mean, you've been studying this religiously over the last couple of days after we got the code from AudioKit Pro. Where do you see it come in to a setup? Where is its strengths? Given the sounds that we have got in there, we have a very IDM vibe, got very retro vibes, and obviously the wonderful 808s. Where do you see it coming in to it? Okay, where do you see it come in? What could we be looking for? If we're looking for a certain sound, what is the certain sound coming from it?
That's what I think is the beauty of it, is that it's very accessible for any type of sound, really. Like, that was just 3 patches, right? And just the stock patches that we've kind of manipulated. But you already covered those 808s. You've got the ARPs, like very plucky ARPs. And then we took what was kind of a plucky sound and turned it into a pad with that lush delay and things like that. So I kind of think it's very versatile. It can handle everything. It seems like now this might be on me, but it seems like it's monophonic only, and might be completely wrong, but that does seem to be the case. I think since it's bass and things like that, I think 808s are a big thing with it. Obviously bass, and then arps and leads are really how I'm seeing it. Or you could do the Eon Lake and sample or record multiple single lines and make chords from it. And I might be wrong. It might be um, polyphonic, but I'm not seeing it anywhere when I'm looking in. Again, I could be totally wrong, but I think it's a monophonic one.
There were some massive chords from that if you tried layering.
Yeah.
That's what my plan is to do. I'll be doing a video on my channel next week, and yeah, I'm gonna try to make a song like I've done with a couple other things. Try to make a song using just that. I'm gonna do the drums with it, like the kick and the bass, the 808, and then all the leads and sounds I'll be using, chromatic mode, or if I do it in the DAW, some sort of sampler to do polyphony and things like that. And then I might have to use a snare and a hi-hat from a sample or something, but I want to build a song from it. And I want to do something different, like maybe synthwave or lo-fi house, like not what you would expect with that type of sound source. What about you, Curtis? Do you have a spot you're seeing it that you could use it?
Well, I mean, I would really like to see what it could do. Those, like I say, with those fuzzy arps that you got. When you went to the retro sounds, that kind of IDM sound, that's what I'm kind of missing right now, so to speak. Just at the touch of a button. With these things, it comes down. I need to buy an iPad because they're getting a lot better. These synths are getting a lot better in their own regard. Particularly curious about those lead sounds that are coming through, particularly spiky. They're quite nice, really.
What about those 808s? I thought that would just steal your heart right away.
Well, I guess. I mean, they have. I'm not denying that. They have completely. I think I'm pretty sorted with 808s just in my workflow because of the way I route things through is simpler. And which means that when I create my bass lines, my 808s are automatically created themselves underneath. Now, if I was feeling fancy, I could give that a try in the workflow down another space and time. But I just, at the moment, because I've only just built it, I'm kind of like, I get to basically create 3 tracks at the same time using a simpler. So, but that's another thing for another day. Are there any drawbacks?
Well, I don't like iPad and iPhone keyboard, but obviously you can connect a MIDI keyboard and have fun with it that way. Or you could send MIDI to it, which is real easy with like USB-C or something like that. I don't know. I don't really see any drawbacks. It's a lot of fun, and if you're using it for those specific things or just as a sound design, like experimentation, I think it's great. And for right now, like I said, until July 31st, it's $4. And then after that, it's going to be 10. So, you can determine if it's worth it for you. But look at just the amount of fun we had just like jamming on these already set sounds. But I think the real fun and experimentation would be really messing with the layers and all of those different PCM and analog sources and things like that. And then the LFOs and changing the destinations. Real quick, Bendu in the chat says, I'm curious about the keys. They take up so much room on the UI. Do they have modulation on their vertical axis? I'm not sure about that. I will look into it. I was just messing around. That's why I kept looking down, seeing what's in the settings and things like that. But I can ask AudioKit and see that may be something that's there that I'm not familiar with or that they might add in.
You know the Animoog plugin?
Yes, I have that.
Similar.
Yeah.
Would be cool.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I did look real quick. Let me see if I can get this back on. So I looked MIDI. It looks like if you go to here, you can route all. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one. You can route all of these. Let me just start it again. So if I hit this little MIDI thing, looks like you can set where each thing is going to go and stuff like that. So not what Bendu's asking, but there is routing and things like that you could do. So Mr. Ableton template here, Curtis and Eon Lake could have some fun with that.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Eon Lake. If you think it's okay to ask.
Yeah, what's it like for clean sounds?
Define clean sounds.
Undistorted, not a bit crushed.
Let me see something, because there's this one.
It seems to have a lot of thickness and tones. I'm wondering how much of that comes from the sound engine, how much from the drive and all of that.
Yeah, here's what they call Anasynth bass guitar. Still has some distortion. And of course, this is coming through several rounds of internet. So, because I'm sending this to I'm hearing this with latency because I'm hearing it
The
through
reason
streaming.
I ask is because what I'm liking about it is the filthiness. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got a real blown circuit, messed up, knackered speaker sound to some of these.
I think that's kind of its main thing. It is like a very distorted, gritty bass sound. I don't want to say definitively no because I haven't gone through like all of these things, and like I said, there's tons of sources you can mess with. So I bet you can get some cleaner
That's what
sound.
I love
But
about it. I really like the sound, like you're overfilling the buffers of the effects as well, and you
yeah,
can hear the different layers take over, and I quite like it. It's for me, it's very atmospheric.
yeah, I think
For me, it's good as an idea thing, you know.
Yeah,
And
I think as a sound design tool and just making really cool sounds and things like that, it makes a lot of sense and it's a lot of fun for that. I do think, to your point, a lot of this is based on, I mean, look, they have a lo-fi setting that you can just crush to oblivion, and they also have this heat setting. So there's a lot of push towards distortion and things like that. So I think you're right that that's kind of its goal, but it can do a lot.
I mean, even just recording you messing around with it and then sampling the little bits of that, you know,
Yeah.
really good. And sometimes I write just trying to establish a mood first before there's any harmonic or melodic content, and so that sounds like it would be very good for establishing moods.
Yes, definitely. And if anybody is interested in checking it out, I believe I already put the link to their website, which will go to the App Store, in the description. If not, it will be there at the end. And if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it will be in the show notes.
Definitely for me.
And I'm just going to check something. If you guys don't mind carrying on for a second, I'm going to just check something.
I don't mind carrying on. I have
better
carry on. You might have noticed.
No,
I'm going to get that after the show, and I've already got a couple of ideas. The things I want to try with it.
Are you thinking of buying that?
If it is monophonic, can I just like have two different sounds and just MIDI it and have one left and one right? Stuff like that.
Well, there is also like you can change the pitch of each layer separately, so you can get the kind of like a chord sound or.
But you can't pan them separately, can you?
I believe you can. Just give me 1 second. I believe there's pan on each. I just want to check one thing.
Ooh, that could be good.
Curtis, are you thinking of getting an iPad for all of this?
I mean, it's getting increasingly it's increasingly very becoming much of a reality in that sense. I think they are just getting better. Like, it's not just, this is not the first one that you've done. And we've done a couple on the show now, and each one is just amazing in their own way, and they're also cheap. And I was talking to you about freeing up a space on my interface for something new. I was like, well, all right. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll be able to get one of the brand new ones, but maybe if I find one secondhand, it'd be something worth into. Because
that's what I was gonna say. Check out secondhand for sure.
Yeah, there is a strong. The force is strong with them. Let's put it that way.
So real quick, I do want to show that. Let me go back to this one. This is King of FM. I don't know if you can see it. I know this is probably a little grainy. King of FM, not the one we're covering today, but we previously covered, is completely free forever. So if you want to just check out the company or something like that, I highly recommend this one. It's got a lot of the same effects, and I think even more like phaser and things like that. So it's well worth checking out. And then now we'll explore. Let me just check. I want to check. I believe you can pan each sound individually. Let me check that.
See, so I leave the studio and go downstairs. On the stairs is my iPad. I'll be picking that up as I go.
And yes, you can. Let me go back. You can pan individually. So you can see, sorry it's so grainy, but there's pan here and pan here. So you could go left, right, and then put the layers, and let's see. You should hear those. I don't know if it's coming in mono with
I think it's coming in mono, but it's good to know you can do stereo.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, it's very nice.
Anything else you want me to talk about? We see I got Survey Channel in the chat says no means to use iOS apps. Yeah. I don't think you have a Mac either, right? Because some of these, like King of FM, you can use on as a plugin, but I don't know about King of Bass yet. But yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, that's like what we were saying with Curtis, like getting a cheap little used. But I mean, I really like this. I'm getting more and more into this whole iOS ecosystem of apps and things like that, because like as of now, I don't have the budget to buy a lot of new gear. But if I really want some new sounds or something like that, there's these that like AudioKit puts out a lot of incredible things for free or for very cheap. And I mean, Moog has apps, and
really
like
good
Ian,
quality.
like already referenced Animoog, I think it's called. That one's great. They have the Model, what is it, Model D,
Yep.
that's on there, and there's a lot of really fun. I mean, Koala
And the Model
Sampler,
15.
I sing the praises of that. Say again, Ian, like
And the Model 15. I
yeah,
think I've got an ARP 2600 clone on my iPad as well. Can't remember who did it now, but yeah, lots of good stuff on it. I know a few times I've been stuck and a track needs something and I don't want to keep using similar things, and a couple of lead lines on tracks have come from phone or iPad, and just because it's a different sound that sort of sits in the mix better, because it's not the same sort of thing again, occupies its own space, and you can get some freaky deaky stuff off some of these apps, that you would struggle to get otherwise.
I think they're kind of unique in their own way, aren't they? If you like, we always talk about ear candy, don't we? We always talk about kind of making your track something a little bit different, a little bit special. Like we all have sounds, and we did a round robin a couple of weeks ago where we talked about like having a sound and having something that's identified with our project, so to speak. But then these non-traditional methods of synthesis, shall we say, they create, because of their novel kind of existence, they create something really new and something very different, and just gives a little bit of pizzazz to your track or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what's really fun about it, and the low bar for entry with a lot of apps being so cheap. It's like a really cool way of doing that. Bendu in the chat says, "I no longer have an iPad, but I do miss Animoog." Do you have an iPhone, Bendu? Probably not, because I know Animoog is also on phone. I have it on there, but yeah, just curious. Anything else you guys want me to cover before I dismantle second computer?
No, I was just thinking, because it excels so much at doing the filth and the heavily affected regen stuff and all of that. I just wondered, does it have other applications? I think it probably does. I mean, it's clearly, pushing itself deliberately in one direction and doing it very well. But yeah, you might be able to get some clean stuff out of it as well. We'll see.
I'm sure you can, especially with that filter and just messing with mix and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and we covered it at the start, but it's really, I mean, it's king of bass. That's its function. It's really cool bass sounds. There's tons, but we always like to push things and see. So I really gravitated towards the effects, because I found that delay was a lot of fun, and then the crusher can work in really interesting ways. So of course there's bias in this presentation, as that's like the thing that really I gravitated towards. But yeah, there's a lot of fun you can do with it.
There you go.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. And those listening back or watching back, it'd be interesting to see what you guys are thinking about these, well, particularly this iOS app, and see if you're incorporating more into it. I know they're more common than they once were. So thank you to AudioKit Pro for sending it over. It's really cool.
Yeah, massive thanks. It's been a lot of fun to work with, and I highly recommend checking it out.
Very much. From one demonstration, more of a heads up for next week. Next week we have got the Octave Cat coming in from Cherry Audio. We have got that. We're very excited about that. We've got we got some codes sent over from Cherry Audio, and we'll be doing another deep dive next week, which we've like 2 weeks and 2 demos. It's like consistency.
I was looking at that Octave Cat as well. I'm interested. So yeah, good.
I've had a little sneaky peek, and it is. I had about half an hour late last night, and it's interesting. So we're going to dive into it next week.
Yeah, we'll have two viewpoints. They were kind enough to send 2 codes, so we'll check it out and show it from 2 very different approaches.
Yeah, 2 very different approaches. We want to know as well. We want to know what you guys want to see as well. So if you want to let us know what you'd be curious about learning about the Octave Cat from Cherry Audio, let us know in the Discord. Patrons, let us know in the Twitter group. What do you want to see? What do you want us to focus on? What do you want to know about this demonstration that we have moving forward? Next week's going to be fun. So yeah.
very much so. Yeah, let us know in the Twitter group, patrons, and then if you want to just join our Discord, it's free for everyone. You can head over there and let us know if there's anything you want us to check out. So yeah.
It's going to be fun. So that's the news that we have for this week. We have this demo. We're going to move straight across to the marketing minute, but it'll be a few minutes this week because we've actually got 2 smaller segments.
Yes, and these were brought by Curtis. I was busy with this demo, so he took the reins for this one.
We did take the reins for this one, but we come going over it. You are the one that we run everything through when it comes to marketing because you're on point with the marketing this year. So we have 2 smaller pieces coming through. One is an update on Threads.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I got quite punny.
You had fun with this one.
I got quite funny with the overlays this week. So we'll start with Threads. We had a massive episode on Threads last week. I think it was the majority of our show, really, if I'm not much mistaken.
Yeah, pretty much. We had a marketing minute special that was an hour and like 20 minutes. So yeah,
exactly. So we thought we'd give you a little bit of an update. If anyone, I've seen some people on Threads, I won't lie, I haven't spent as much time on it this week as I did last week. But I'm not.
That's a great transition.
I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Yeah, that's a hell of a transition.
Yeah. So over the first 5 days of Threads' existence, over 100 million people signed up. But the drop off has been ridiculously significant. The app stores nearly broke when everyone was downloading them in the first couple of days, but it launched on a Tuesday. However, by the Saturday, it had dropped 20%. 20%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, we have release days where obviously all our listens go spiking up for a day or so, and then they come down again, and it kind of evens out. But I'm not sure even I have had a drop of 20% in 3 days.
Yeah. Do you have that article that we?
Yeah, from CNBC.
These are the analytics we're talking about are from CNBC. It's an article we got. The average user time went down too. Let me share this.
Yes, and the average user time went down by 50%, from 20 minutes to 10 minutes. So people are spending less time on there, and there's just less people on there in general, really.
And I'd be curious to hear, because I mean, we talked about it in our anecdotal part of our experiences with Threads. Let me just turn off the banner because it's blocking Eon Lake, and I of course want to see Eon Lake's face. There we go. I need his eye rolling at all of the social media stuff, but we noticed, first of all, the algorithm seemed to be very wonky. Like, you get a lot of follows because there's this Instagram integration where if you sign up, it says, do you want to follow all these people? But because of that, I think people make an account and then just don't check. And it seems like, at least on my feed, and Curtis, you can probably collaborate with that, but it's a lot of really big names in my, I don't even know if I still don't think it's a For You page. They really rushed it out, but nobody I follow pops up in my feed. It's all just big names that you can see I'm not following. And I'm like, why am I seeing this? Have you seen that for what little time you've spent on there?
I have, for sure. And I have seen the fact that when I've got a heart, when you got the heart for your likes and stuff, and then you've got the little thing underneath that tells you you've got more. Yeah. That doesn't work for me.
It's all messed up, right? It just keeps showing the same thing for me. Yeah. Or the same, even if I've checked it, it still says, oh, this is still new. And I'm like, no, it's not. Stop telling me there's something new.
See, that's interesting. You'll show something. I just get there is nothing to be displayed at this time. Nothing. It's just there is nothing to be displayed at this time. So, I mean,
ideal, is it for them?
I mean, the opposite of ideal. I mean, I wonder they are quite. Can we
just hold on, just talk about that sloth AI image that's on the right there.
Oh wow!
This robot sloth thing. What is that?
I wonder.
That is a thing of nightmares.
I wonder if that's algorithmically done, because I've been looking at a lot of sloth things over the last couple of days. So I wonder if they've got me. They've got me. But anyway,
now they just need it playing in 808, and they'll have you applying in sync.
Nothing too
Very
racy, I hope, Curtis.
No. Well, one can dream. I mean, they have been quite candid. Coming back to the article in hand, and away from my internet search history, they say it's early days. We're excited about the initial success of Threads, which has surpassed our expectations. We launched the app just over a week ago, and our focus is now ensuring a stable performance, delivering new features, and continuing to improve the experience in coming months. They're being very candid. They know that this is something that is clunky and isn't really working. And like I said last week, I think it's all part of the narrative, personally. But yeah. That's what's going on with Threads. Ian Lake, what are you thinking?
I'm still, I mean, I don't get to use it yet, obviously, because I'm in Europe, but it does seem odd, really. I'm still wondering about that whole, is it a bit of a marketing thing that we're going on this journey, come on the journey with us? I don't think anyone's got the attention span for going on a journey on social media these days. To be fair, it's just scroll, and I think what will happen is it's just nothing going on here. I'm off. Look, a squirrel, and they're gone.
I like that.
So,
I think you mean
I might be over-egging it.
You mean look a sloth?
Yeah,
right?
it's like I'm off to Google sloths now.
There's nothing wrong with a sloth, okay?
Sloths are cool, dude. Sloths are cool. Nothing wrong with a good sloth. Hang on,
Survey Channel has quite an opinion about Threads. You guys want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
sure.
says Threads is just trash, just absolute smoldering rubbish. Yeah, I mean, I think.
Oh man, that's good.
I think if they were going for the whole like join us on a journey, here's this rough take of our version of Twitter or whatever. I mean, I think that's the logical endpoint for a lot of people. Like, you don't want a buggy mess, and I think they've only done, at least to my knowledge, one update so far that was like, we're doing some bug squishing. Like, great, okay. Can you get like a For You page or maybe hashtags or maybe fix my notifications so it stops saying like something new, blah blah blah. But I was thinking that whole keeping the notification saying there's something new is to get that dopamine hit of like, oh, there's something new. Let me go back on Threads and let me spend time on it, right? That's my I guess like let me take my tinfoil hat off, right? But or put it on, I should say. But yeah,
I've barely got the patience for my own journey. I've got no patience for theirs.
Yeah.
Go on it on
Especially a multi-billion-dollar company, they can
exactly.
They can finish the journey.
The shit doesn't work. Oh, pardon my French. Sorry.
The rubbish, you mean?
Yeah.
The rubbish.
Quote Survey Channel here, okay?
He's
got the right idea.
Work. It's just mad. Are they not big enough to be able to develop software? Do they not have the funding? Can you?
I completely agree with you on the one hand. I completely agree with you. I maintain there is a notion of, like you say, come along for the ride. This is rough and this is candid, and we're just going along. And it could be bullcrap. I'm trying to think of another word, but
rubbish.
Rubbish. It could be twallop. It could be twallop. But I do wonder. Okay, stick with me on this one. All right, but the notion of people as watching it unfold, perhaps again producers and artists getting into the game themselves and seeing how this works, might give them a little bit of hope in that regard. And it's like, yeah, I don't have to be perfect. Yeah, I don't have to put everything out that's polished. That overarching idea of polishing stuff, which social media has contributed to and has led to the degradation of many people's mental health. If you're coming onto this world where now social media goes back to those potato quality things, I mean, that's not such a bad thing. That makes it, you know what I mean?
Potato quality.
Yeah, that got Ian interested. He's sold now.
That's brilliant. I love it. I don't think the channel agrees that it's actually up to potato quality yet, but
my hesitation with it is just knowing it's meta. And they are very anti-creator after a certain point, right? When the honeymoon phase ends, they clamp down so they can get ads. And I get it that, they need to, they have so much money, but they need to stay afloat, obviously. But there's other means of doing that besides just clamping down on small artists, so. that's my hesitation. They've done that. They've gotten rid of apps that they've introduced before. I mean, Google does that too. Does anybody remember what was it called? Google Plus.
Google Plus.
Like,
I still got
that's
my
just
account with
complete.
Google Plus.
Yeah.
I thought that's just like completely just like no one. What Google Plus? What is Google does plausible deniability with Google Plus. but yeah. So I don't know. It's like I feel like that whole if it is that whole go on a journey with us. It's like that's the wrong thing to do when you're a company that large that has all the means for solving all of this and stuff like that.
Depends where the journey's going, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the how long it's going to take, and eventually all these companies will decline and flatten out anyway. So I mean,
it's just RIP Google Reader. Yeah, I don't know if it's fully dropped yet, but there was also that streaming game service Stadia, Google Stadia, that like went. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with businesses putting out there and seeing what works. And just
I get it. Yeah, but I'm just saying like Facebook has a bit of a history of rolling something out, putting it away, and just like never met. Remember, like in that news article we talked about last week, they had a Threads app before that was an Instagram Messenger or something, and they just got rid of it, and now they're pretending like that never existed. Here's Threads, a brand new app,
Yeah, the ultimate gaslight. So yeah, that's Threads. We're going to be keeping an eye on what's going down. I think I've made a couple of threads the other day, and I'm going to keep using it just to see what's going on there. Like, just poke the bear, just see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to not. If you're already posting on other things, just lemonize and just put it on Threads, right? Like that's what I do. I open it for 2 seconds, copy paste, paste whatever I'd already done, and just call it a day.
Yeah,
because you never know, it might take off.
Yeah, it
I mean, that article doesn't paint a good picture, but this is early days, and as they fix things, it might start gaining traction. People might start using it. Drama might happen with other social media that brings more people over. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
That's ridiculous. Drama with other social media.
Yeah,
there's never anything. Nothing like
What's
that.
the other part of the Marketing Minute docket?
The other part of the Marketing Minute docket is we are back with Spotify. And
only super fan. You had a lot of fun today with those. Yeah,
I did have a lot of fun. I've had a good day. I've had a whole day in Ableton, so I'm at peak happiness for now. This is there's some new updates on the Spotify for Artists page, where they've actually deepened a lot more, and they've brought in the concept of super fans. Now, let me bring up my notes so I can get this right for everyone.
While you do that, we've got a chat. Let me just bring that up because it's back on Threads, so we'll be quick.
Okay.
Bendu asks, serious question, is there a way to just automatically send my Instagram posts to Threads without any effort from me? I don't believe so, at least
not yet.
First party, not yet. There may be, but I will say Meta, who owns Facebook, Instagram, all that, is billing Threads as more like a text-based thing. At least that was their original pitch for it. So I'm not sure they're going to want to have direct Instagram being video and photo, like posting there. I don't know. And as it struggles and drops off, they might do that to kind of bring things back up. I'm not sure. But to my knowledge, and it sounds like to Curtis and all that, there isn't a way yet. And I don't know about things like Later and third-party apps, if there's any sort of... There's these websites you can use where you just put something on that and you connect it, like you log in through it, and it just posts everything at the same time to all of it. But I don't know if Threads is on that yet.
I mean, eventually you can just see them coming together. If you post a photo to Instagram, if you post a thread, it will just come up as a box. Surely that's probably where it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can already do that between Instagram and Facebook. When you're posting something on Instagram, you can say, share this to Facebook if you have it linked to either a Facebook page or a Facebook profile, things like that.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how that pans out. But yes, back to Spotify for now. So, like I say, Spotify for Artists has always been a good way to see your analytics, and kind of see where...
A lot of analytics.
A lot of analytics. Exactly. Yeah. So you can see where your listens are, and you know, we've all used it, we all know what they are. But they've always been quite vague, and it's just been your audience, generally speaking. But now Spotify has come in and they have created what is called super fans. So they've delineated and given it a bit more detail in that regard.
Yeah, they have a new section called segments where they're showing all the breakdown of your super fans and what they call programmed audience.
Yeah, so we're going to go through them in just a sec, but it's just interesting to see. They've always had this. They've always had this. They've just not made it available to us. So you've got your fans, you've got your listeners, and then you also now have access to see your super fans who drive 42% of your future engagement with new people and the same people and stuff like that. The more, basically, from what I understand it, the more that you engage your super fans, the greater boost or bump it will give to the rest of your audience or potential audience in that regard. And they break this down, so which is really nice. So if you can just share this, there we go. So I'm going to go this around here into segments. This is my one on my right for now. So currently, no one is my super listener. Excellent. But what you can see is that you have now moderate listeners and light listeners. And then you can see throughout all of it how things are changing over time. Now, if I keep this here for a second.
Yeah, and really quick, that's just in active audience. So there's 3 segments now, which is really cool. So there's within each segment, there's segments. But so you're just clicked, so active audience. And then you have the previous active audience, which is like what you had in the, I think, last 28 days or something. And then there's the programmed audience, which is just playlist plays, editorials, and things like that.
Exactly. So previously active listeners are people who have tuned in over the last 2 years, but haven't necessarily done so in the last 28 days. You've got a programmed audience, which is, like you say, ones who don't listen to you exactly, but they get you from playlists and they get you from the radio. Your super listeners are your active audience, where they're your most dedicated fan base. They are the ones who are driving more listeners to you. They listened a lot over the last 28 days, and they will continue to do so. Then within that, under that, you have moderate listeners, people who have tuned in a few times, and they'll do the same. They could be promoted in inverted commas. And then you have light listeners who might have streamed you once or twice in the last couple of days. And then again, so that's like your bronze, silver, and gold in that regard. So I think the idea of it is you can see, the way I see this is a kind of like a personalization, a further personalization into kind of where you're sending your targeted ads, if that's what you're doing in that regard. You can see, you could really hone in on who your active listener or your super listeners are, target them, and you could then grow that to a bigger audience, because seeing the similarities between them, that would be a nice way of doing things in that regard. Find out who is really keen on your work.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just really good to know how people are listening to you, because there's also that thing in beta. There's 2, the audience engagement and then the release engagement. So you can kind of get a clear picture of the way releases are going. And if you have a new release or active listeners, I'm hoping, one of the things that I would hope they do is kind of bridge the gap between, now you have this, you're seeing, here's active listeners, here's this, but you're not seeing like, what are they listening to? How are they listening? And I mean, maybe some way to know where they're listening from. Like if you're talking, as Curtis is, from a marketing standpoint, it would be helpful to know like, your active listeners are in the Czech Republic and UK and England, and like all this type of stuff, so that if you're doing that, so it's a good start. It's in beta. There's also the release engagement, which they did a while ago, that shows you how many of your followers listen to a release in X amount of days. So there's kind of multiple things you can pull from this. I don't think it's game changing, and it's still Spotify, but it's nice that they're adding more things and more ways of seeing a little bit into, like, a little bit behind the curtain of streams, which has just been this mysterious thing. Yeah, like, you're the biggest supporter of Spotify. What's your take on this?
I think anything they do is brilliant.
There we go. Go the party line, Ian. Like,
I've said it many times. They just keep getting better and better. I think this is a good thing. I think it's more information. I think the thing that's missing still is some way to engage with them directly, which you perhaps would have through Bandcamp or your own website or other means. You maybe have a distribution list so that you could actually directly contact your biggest fans. But it's nice that they're making some of the data available to you now. It's just I think there still needs to be a little bit more thought about how you can make use of that information other than chin rubbing and that's useful. I mean, all right, if you're planning a world tour, you might have a better idea of where you need to play. But apart from that, I don't know. Maybe I'm not imaginative enough, but it's just might feed your ego, but it doesn't necessarily help you make decisions or reach people who are more interested than others. But no bad thing at that.
I mean, it's like it's better than nothing, I suppose. We could all hope for just a bit more money in streaming. Maybe not. We wouldn't have to worry so much about the audience, but I mean, obviously that's not going to happen. Any new and any better information is always a good thing. And I mean, I don't even do targeted ads and things like that, and I don't really. I go on for a cursory look, and I'm like, kind of, it's for me, it's just interesting to see where people are tuning in from. Just to see who's vibing with the wonky tunes that I make, more than anything.
Yeah, and we've done some targeted ads with the playlist, the Audionautic Radio playlist, which the link is in the description if you want to listen. Latest in independent and chill music, lots of fun. I actually need to update it. It's been like 3 weeks because life has just been crazy. So if you've got a song that you think fits on it, send it to either my socials or to the Audionautic Twitter, and we'll take a listen. But yeah, I mean, it is helpful. Like when we're doing playlist ads, is Curtis listening to music, or is my voice that soothing? I saw you just rocking with the.
I've just seen Survey Channel's comment in the chat.
The Audionautic World Tour. Yeah, we're worldwide here, but it is good to see like where we look at like my listeners, where they are, where Curtis's are, where our label mates listeners are, and then we kind of build off of that to figure out where we're looking to do the targeted ads, and then we expand on it and things like that. But it is good in that regard to kind of know, well, if it works there may be more of like that scene type there or something like that. So there are reasons for it beyond just being like, ooh, numbers, yeah, that's great. So yeah,
I think it's as well as that, it's again age group. I think one for me personally that's been quite useful, because I've always wondered about how to engage the younger generation, so Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Traditionally, people, for me at least, people in their between 30 and 60ish, that I'm in that age bracket, for some reason, and I've always been wondering, okay, how can I engage with the younger generation? And so it's interesting to see the music that I put out and where I do things when I do things, and then to see that I have seen that starting to come through in the last kind of 6 months, a year or so. So that's an extra thing in that regard, which can be quite useful.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear from our patrons, because they also ask us to cover things, or we ask them, hey, we're talking like with Cherry Audio, we'll be covering that. If you have anything you want us to cover, let us know. I know a lot of our patrons are not the biggest fans of Spotify, but if you want us to do a detailed breakdown of Spotify for artists and ways that it can actually help, let us know. There's some things that it's very useful for, and there's some ways you can really set your profile on Spotify like for the best interaction when someone does click on it. So let us know. You can let us know in the chat right now, patrons, or in the patron groups. I'm curious to hear, because there's a lot you can do, if you want to be on Spotify, which is a discussion in its own right, I suppose.
I mean, it's very slowly inching towards the social media lark, just almost backwards. They're giving us all the analytics and all that stuff before going, here, have an interaction with the people. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because TikTok is bringing out TikTok music, their own like streaming thing. We'll cover that another day, but I mean, I think we're seeing like this singularity of social media streaming, and oh boy.
it's terrifying, but it's fun. It's all good. On that note, you mentioned the patrons, so we'll do a quick patron pitch. If you like what we have been doing here today, if you like the news, and if you like what we're there are lots of them in the chat today, and we thank you ever so much for what the contribution that you're doing. It allows us to do all these deep dives, to spend more time doing this. It really allows us to we're now in a position where we can start approaching people and say, hey, we have a platform here, can we showcase your stuff? And we wouldn't be able to do that without our support from our patrons, so thank you ever so much. If you want to support us, head over to patreon.com/audionautic. Be a wonderful way for $2 as well, less than the price of a cup of coffee. It's the cliche, I think, is the cliche I meant to say.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we also just got a brand new member, so many thanks to everyone who's been joining. You will find, if you're listening right now, you will find you've been added to the Twitter group, and I'll get you on the patron Discord group very soon. And Curtis was kind enough to throw up, here's our membership tiers. There's a lot of benefits you get, and we also have hangouts that we do with our patrons. We talk about all kinds of stuff. It's a good place where we have these nerdy discussions about LFOs, oscillators, synths, even guitar. Sometimes we do throw that in, but it's a lot of fun. And then, like we mentioned earlier, patrons can ask for us to cover something, or if they have questions, we talk about it. And it's a lot of fun, and it helps a ton with the channel, helps us do more of these things and get these things out to you.
Yeah, thank you. Ian, any words of that?
Helps us all grow. It's been pretty useful recently when everyone seems to be playing live. So there's a lot of discussion around different approaches, setups, and so on. It's good to be able to bounce ideas around with a bunch of people who have similar interests or things that they're exploring.
Definitely. That's the great thing about those groups is we all ask things when we're struggling. And it's great because we can just be like, like Curtis was having trouble with his templates one time on Ableton, and because so many of you are just horrible people that use Ableton. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, but they were all able to kind of troubleshoot.
That's what we pitched this as, a safe space for music technology bots.
It is, but Curtis always rails on me for using Logic. I'm just kidding. No, Ableton's great. And after my whole fiasco with Logic for this live set, I am contemplating at some point getting Ableton explicitly just for live performance.
That's how it starts.
We'll see. That could be how it starts, but I really don't like its workflow. But anyways, that's the point. It was great. We were all able to talk. I think Hydro Fighter was able to help him with some template stuff, and we've talked about all kinds of things. Thomas, one of our patrons, has sent some really cool samples of a Juno 60 to me that I was able to use, and we trade samples and things like that. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to check it out and have it is a safe space for music. I just had to get that little Ableton dig. I'm sorry. You guys rip on me all the time for Logic, so it's only fair.
And that is fair enough.
But don't worry, there is no judgment. Whatever DAW you use, we are accepting of all DAWs here. And DAW-less.
And or less. What I really like as well is just to branch off that is the existential stuff that we do as well. Like, we all go through ebbs and flows emotionally as artists, and we go through good times, and then there are times where we're not feeling it and feeling creatively burnt out and stuff like that. And it is, from my perspective at least, it's a very nice way as well, just to get that little bit of like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, bro, and it's going to be okay. And like taking each other and helping each other through that tough time. That is something that is just can never be replaced, I think. And that is truly amazing to me.
Judging by the chat today, we've got our biorhythms in sync.
Well, talking of existential, though, that moves us quite nicely to the round robin, which Curtis has a good one. Today. We can do a quick one, though, because we're running on. That was a meaty demo.
It was. Now, not essentially existential, but the round robin. This is our discussion part of the show. It's where we take an idea, about something about production, be it about, again, existentialism, or be it something producing, or if we have some tips and tricks or anything like that. And this is where we just throw it out to the community and everyone weighs in, and then we can share some ideas, and hopefully someone can take something fresh, or maybe if they're stuck on something, maybe that says something new. So this week, I want to talk about muddy mixes, lots of muddy mixes, a lot of alliteration. I was thinking about trying to do more, but I think I spent all of my creative juice on the Marketing Minute overlays this week.
All right, we'll forgive you because those were good.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. So we're looking at muddy mixes and particularly avoiding muddy mixes. It's very easy to slip into the trap of making muddy mixes, especially at the beginning. I don't know if you guys have ever listened much to my first EP and Philomath, but there's a lot of mud there, which I quite like. But at the same time, I've now learned more. So I want to bring it to the table. I want to bring it to the community. People watching back, please weigh in. If you're listening on Apple, on Spotify, please add your comments to this. We'd love to hear where you're coming from. Muddy Mix, who wants to start?
Let's do Eon Lake.
Yeah.
Let's do, due to time though, let's do up to two fixes for Muddy Mixes.
Okay.
How about that? 2 fixes for Muddy Mixes.
What is a muddy mix? You know,
Oh jeez.
are we talking? Tone.
I like the way he took the idea and just went straight off.
Now we're screwed. See, we'll be done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Go.
To me, it means something that's got a lot of tone, a lot of girth, but it's indistinct. There's not clarity in it. There's poor separation, and maybe not a good balance either. Who knows? First thing, I've got 2 things. All right, only 2 things. First thing,
2 things.
Monitoring. Make sure that you don't have excessively toppy monitoring or anything that doesn't have an accurate profile. Because if it sounds bright in your studio or in your headphones, whatever you're using, then you'll go somewhere else where it's less bright and suddenly everything sounds muddy. Obvious, really, isn't it? But yeah, try and make sure that your monitoring is relatively accurate and that you're used to the sound of not only what you're monitoring on, but where you're monitoring, the room, if you know what it's like. I know I've got a bass trap in this corner, for instance. It's quite a heavy one as well. So I can move around and I kind of know what to expect, although everything's set up for the hotspot about here, which I'm never in unless I'm mixing. So that's one. It seems obvious, but I mean, if you can't do the simple things, how are you going to do the intricate, delicate stuff? The second one, I hear a lot of arguments on this point about high-pass filtering. And some people say you shouldn't just high-pass everything. It's not a good idea. But by the same token, there's a reason those switches are on mixing desks. And if you've got a hi-hat track, you don't need 100 hertz. It's just that it is that simple. So if there is any noise underneath or at the bottom of a part, it's not adding anything harmonically or tonally to the music. You don't need it. Get rid of it. It takes up headroom. It all adds up onto your master bus, and your headroom creeps up, and you end up with kind of indistinct things because you've incorporated a load of material that isn't necessarily part of the music, but does take up some of the dynamic headroom. So, but also, people say, well, do it, don't do it. Use your ears, use your common sense, know why you might want to do it and why you might not want to do it. You can make things sound too thin. I like to try and get close to the sounds with things like synthesizers, as it's easier with the filters and shaping of the sound. You can get things to fit together a bit better. But for things that don't fit together as well, just losing some mud in the low end, push the frequencies a little bit where their presence is and where it's actually doing something, and make sure that the sound is working, and occupying its part in the music, in the mix. And that's one thing that will help.
I like that.
I can go on, but I'm not allowed.
You can go on in the Twitter or Discord. You got full reign there.
Extend it out. We'll extend it out in the Patreon group on Discord, because there is a lot here. There's a lot here to unpack. I like also. Just before we move on, I want to say the Eon Lake School of Music Production. Just use your common sense. I think that would be a fantastic way of doing it.
We try and do things, with forethought. Make sure it's a decision to do that. And
think with intention. Produce with intention. Yeah, it's a great one. T-shirt. Yeah, produce with intention.
It's another one.
If I keep saying this, if anyone in the chat who tunes in weekly, please, can you make a note of these T-shirts? Because I keep forgetting, and I want to make them, but I just keep forgetting. I have to go back through them all.
Well, we have our quintessential one that's actually out. The Make It Sound Good Dude T-shirt is available on our Bandcamp. So
the original.
We've got one, but we've got to get some new ones because it's been a minute.
It has been a minute. We'll get to it. I've got some time off recently, so we'll see where it goes. Sunwarper, your two, please, sir.
Let's see. I think, like Eon Lake was saying, it's good to define what you mean by mud, right? Mm-hmm. Because like when I hear muddy mix, I think that, at least maybe from a mastering perspective, that like 180 to 300 area of the frequency range that can really bundle up. And yeah, he's spot on about the high pass, the filters and things like that. But even beyond that, it's that range because you can have a lot of competing parts there depending on what octave you're using. If you're using near octaves or similar octaves for multiple things, it can get a little muddy. So, I mean, notching out certain instruments that are all in the same range, figuring out where they fit, kind of that Siamese Dream Smashing Pumpkins guitar where it's like you have 5 or 10 guitars, make each one have like a special segment that's really where it's shining, but then the rest is toned down. You can also, in arrangement, consider octaves of each instrument. That might help, with that. And then what you're doing with filters and things like that. So I think the biggest thing for me would be controlling that area, at least in my subjective definition of muddy, is controlling that like 180 to 300. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just figuring out where you want. It's just arrangement, really, for me. It's like figuring out where you want things to fit. And I even high pass, or I filter out even up to 300 or 400 on certain sounds, just to really just clear it out. If it's not needed, there's still some things there. Or like guitar, you really don't want that muddiness that's at under maybe 150. That I just cut it because the bass is going to cover it. Like think what instrument needs to be covering what, and then just get rid of or tone it down and everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to stem off of that point, because that is, it's really dark in my room now for some reason.
You're bringing out the darkness for this muddy mixes.
It seems to be, yeah. When we talk about layering, just to say when we're cutting things out that we don't need, like you say, the bass will cover the under 150. A lot of us are layering, and we do layer, and we might have, for example, my classic example is I'll have a low bass and I'll have a high bass. I
do that too.
Yeah, I think it's quite a common thing.
I have 3 or 4 usually.
Yeah, like they're all stacked and they're all side chained to each other doing different things. Yeah.
That's another one, side chain.
Well, it's side chaining. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, firstly, if you've got multiple instruments in the mids, usually when we've got a sound or doing sound design or we're selecting a sound, there is a certain aspect of that frequency range that we're going for. Like if you have a bright synth, like a spacey pad or something like that, you want that higher end, for example, right? You don't necessarily need all that stuff. You don't need that low end at all, which allows for the low pad to bring in something else. Now you can cut that out as well, because usually in the low pad it is the lower frequencies that you're looking for, and the rest is just fluff. So as well as notching, to stem off of what some will be saying, you can just sweep and just cut out the things you don't want. So if we are layering sounds, you've got to think about that whole sound. You've got to think about that whole range and how you want to make them through. So separating out what each instrument is being filtered through, that is a nice way of doing it. My classic, I'm going to go for a third one because I can. But
no, you can't. I'm cutting you off. I have the power to just mute you.
Okay, well, there you go.
To be fair, you have the power to mute me too. So.
I won't do side chaining because we've just said that. But
no, we're fine. Go ahead. Say whatever your third one is.
So the second one would be side chaining everything to everything. Oh, not side chaining everything to everything, but side chaining.
Now wait, are you actually side chaining bass to bass?
I side chain bass to bass, so I layer side chains in my bass.
Like when one bass goes, the other one is being ducked.
Yeah, so I've got so usually what I'll do is I'll do a side chain, sub, for example. I'll do a sub bass, which is obviously just a wall of frequency, right? Then I might have a plucked bass, right, where then I side chain the pluck to the 808, for example, and then I've got that like psychedelic bass that I use quite a lot, right, which kind of phases in and out, that kind of thing. I'll then side chain that underneath the pluck, for example. Then that whole thing, that whole bus will be side chained to the kick.
Yeah, so that's interesting because like when it comes to when I stack bass, I just I do it by EQ. Like I make them fit by EQ. Like I do high and low pass filter on a mid bass and on a high bass, and then the low bass is just filtered out all the highs, and then I just sidechain all of that to just the kick. I want to try this. That sounds so bizarre. Like side chains on side chains on side chains, and I see Eon like just grimacing or something. I'm curious if he's just like, what are these noobs talking about? Or he's like,
crazy kids. I was just thinking, I don't track basses. I don't layer basses, and then I thought, except when I do.
Except when you do, exactly.
I don't often actually, but I do. Yeah.
I think that as well, we all know about sidechaining of basses to some degree, but also sidechaining the mid range and the high range as well. So I like a piano if I've got a piano solo. Yeah, if I've got a piano solo or something, I'll actually just sidechain that entirely to what the pads are doing usually. So the pads duck out to let that clearer come in. But then
I've done that with vocals before, where you have like the pad is ducked by the sidechain by the vocals, right? So the vocals get that prominence. Yeah, there's sidechain is really interesting. There's also like I used in I think it was in the Bliss demo, the enveloper, that you can do. You can change the dynamic of whether the transient's harder to hit or lower to hit. Not that has anything to do with muddy mixes.
You guys are cheating. This is more than two.
Eon's right. We're cheating. We'll continue this in the Discord. I'll tell you what.
So you will get extra ones, but not me.
Okay. All right. I won't say anymore. I have a last one, but I won't say anymore because we are equals. We are a band of brothers, and we all live by the same rules. So
I'll put it. Say another one.
No,
I won't say it.
Discord. He didn't say it, and what we were just talking about was a random aside. It was a tangent. It was not dealing with muddy mixes.
Okay, in the chat, is this fair? I don't know. I don't think so. What do you think?
Are we ruling with too much of an iron fist? Has this become a dictatorship? Have we become mad? We get a couple of codes from different companies, and suddenly we're dickheads. Is that what it is?
Equal rights for Eon Lake. Come on.
All right, now, like I'll give you the floor for just in short, because we do need to end soon. We've gone on a bit. Just in short, what is the third, and then elaborate on the Discord.
Positive and negative EQ. I've talked about this one before, but when you're EQing, I mean, I find myself often taking a tiny bit of that out and putting a little bit of that in, so that you're kind of maintaining a sort of a balance.
Yeah.
But also doing it in stages. So you just do it a little bit, have a listen, maybe a little bit more. Maybe you're doing this to multiple parts. So that I think of it like panel beating a car. You're gradually sort of trying not to be too drastic with any of it, but slowly pushing things in the directions that you want. You know, not deviating a lot from the sound, but trying to evolve gradually towards better separation and a clearer sort of balance.
That's true. I remember in when you talked about your live setup 2 or 3 ADSNs ago, you showed your bass, and I saw that EQ where you just had the 125 just fattened up, and I was like, "Is that your master bus? Are you just like just notch that thing up?"
I love 150
and he was like, "No, it's bass." It's like, all right, I'll forgive you for that. But yeah, you're spot on. All right, well, I hope that makes you feel better. We don't want you to feel mad. You can be mad at Spotify. You can be mad at Twitter. Yeah, don't be mad at us.
I'm mad at the chat for not backing me up. I'm coming.
Shots fired.
Well, we'll leave it there then. We can continue. There's lots here. There's a 5-hour round robin. Run the gamut. I love that. Yeah. There is more.
Unfortunately, we have to eat.
We have to eat. There is a lot more here. Sorry, that was a motorbike. Next week I will not keep my window open. It's just really hot.
That's what that windy noise is. That's what the hot mic was. All right.
Yeah. There's a lot here. There are many ways in which to make a muddy mix, and so there are many ways to fix a muddy mix, and we'd love to know. So go down to the Discord. Let us know in the chat. There's an ADSN channel for non-patrons, and non-patrons you can go in there, or you can talk in the patron channel, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But if we can create this notion that we know where it's going, it's a common trap that many new producers run in. My continuous quest as a producer is to make my mix is less and less muddy.
Maybe like 3 less basses than you have. That might solve it. That
Never.
might solve it. If you have 10 basses, go to like 6, and I bet your problem will be solved.
I have been very conservative as of late. I only have 3.
Okay.
One of those is an 808. So
on the quest for cleaner mixes, he's lowered his bass number.
Exactly. So we'll go from there. So let us know and join the community and join the discussion, because together we grow, as we like to say. But we come to our final segment before we all bugger off for another week.
Wait.
There you go.
Morning Sprint says, great stuff. Had to multitask last hour, but the only way I've unmuddied is just doing less. There we go. See? Less is more sometimes.
There you go.
I just saw it. There was actually a on Reddit, in We Are the Music Makers subreddit, they were saying, like, what's some mixing techniques you've learned, and someone was saying, just like, if it sounds fine without it, get rid of it. Like, just be, very, very unbiased. Like, if you really like a little fill you have, but if you get rid of it and it fits, I don't know if I fully agree with that sentiment, but I get the point. Is that we get connected to certain things, and just if it sounds good without it, consider getting rid of it.
Yeah, very much so. You have to be ruthless, and I think just to echo what Ian Lake was saying, mixed with proactivity and mindfulness, we can get lost, especially if we're taking our time over a mix and we come back to it again and again. We can always lose the sense of what it is. So,
taking a break,
exactly.
Well, that's it for the round robin. Let's see what we've got for the rest of the week. Curtis, what are you doing?
What am I doing? Well, I'm getting back into it. I'm finally having a look at some projects from project files from the next LP that I want to do. I always have multiple projects going through, and I've come back and I've started writing and finishing off the first couple of tracks from the new LP. That's been interesting. It's the first time in a while where I felt good about the music I'm making. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to do that, and that won't be, as for other reasons, one of which I want to talk about in an episode or two's time. I'm not recording anything. I'm not making any videos or anything. It's just making it, and it's giving me a different workflow. Really good. So I'm exploring more of that. Ian Lake?
I'm tackling burnout this week, so I'm going to be eating well, taking supplements, getting enough sleep, making sure that I'm hydrated, and exploring some sound design and making weird sounds and bouncing them down to audio and running them through more stuff and maybe sampling them, just to get away from the first iteration of a sound. You have this. I want to have sounds that have evolved away from something. So I'm going to try and get the energy levels up and start to feel more normal, so that I can experiment. I'm doing a bit of a Curtis and looking for, a slightly different sound palette, and see what inspires me, rather than just pulling up one of the old usual things and pressing keys and going, what do I like? I'm going to try and come at things slightly differently, see what happens. What about you, Sam Walker?
What about me? I've had a horrible week, so I've just been trying to figure out how to make it better, but I've been having fun with music. I got the live set figured out, recorded, because I'm pre-recording because I have multiple camera angles, and there's no way I can do that and switch all these different instruments. So the live set it was a lot of fun to do once it finally worked. And as Curtis knows, I filmed a whole one, and it was perfect. The first one I did that didn't have any mistakes I could not live with or whatever, and
wow.
And then every single note of the guitar got moved off time.
Oh man!
So I was like, "You gotta be kidding! There's no way I'm gonna go meticulous." So I just redid it, and it worked. It was fine, but I was so mad. That was just, it made me so.
You came to meeting on Monday. You were not a happy bunny.
I was just I was so deflated because I pushed our meeting with Curtis, our Audionautic weekly meeting, back 10-15 minutes so I could film this before it's 92 degrees in here, which I think Curtis says is 40 Celsius or 38. It's not fun. It's not pleasant. Let's put it that way. It's not pleasant. So I shut the air off, and it starts to just get sweltering in here. And so I did it, and it was perfect. And then I saw the dreaded analyzing transients that pops up when it's messing it up,
Mm.
and boom, it got all glitched. And I was like, oh, so I go on the call and I was just like, it's not working, but it worked. I finally got it. One of the things I figured out, if anybody has this issue, and I'm not sure what it is yet, I'm going to contact Apple, but who knows if they'll respond, and Logic. But if you delete, because with Logic, you can record multiple takes on a single audio instrument. As soon as I would hit about 4 takes, the next ones would start just going off transient. Like it would just move them. And I think part of it, like I said, is because I have time signature changes throughout. But anyways, if you want to see what it ended up being, and it turned out pretty well, the Bandcamp live stream is on my Bandcamp, sunwarbird.bandcamp.com. All the patrons should have gotten an email invite, so if you want to tune in, check that it's there. If not, let me know. And then Curtis and Eon Lake, you both got invites as well, so I hope to see everybody there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, it was interesting. It was cool, and it was weird using the DAW, sending MIDI, and then playing on things. It's crazy. I felt like a one-man band, just like moving between. I just need a little drum kick, you know.
Knee cymbals. That's what you want. Yeah. Knee cymbals.
Yeah, I need cymbals. Yeah,
bang your knees together.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. No, Sunday 8 p.m.
Yeah, 11 a.m.
CET.
Pacific, which should be whatever time we go live on Wednesdays here. It'll be there, which I think you said is 8 p.m.
It's
7 p.m.
7 p.m. UTC. 7 p.m.
7
UTC.
p.m. UTC. So
8 p.m. CET. So,
and if you can't make it, and you get a ticket, or you got the invite as a patron, it's a 48-hour replay. I don't think I'm going to post this on my YouTube, but I will be posting. Anybody that tunes in and gets a ticket or anything will get the audio. And there's also going to be a really cool merch item, so that'll be fun. There's only 5 of this merch item, and it's very interesting.
Genuinely forgot that we made that.
Yeah, I still need something from you, though. I need one thing.
You need one thing.
We talked about it, but I'll bring it up after.
Bring it up. Remind me. I'll do it over the weekend, or before the weekend, obviously, seeing it's Sunday. But yeah. Thank you ever so much, everyone tuning in, especially guys who come to the end. We are at 88 minutes, and there are 8 people watching at 88 minutes, which is very witchy. So we're gonna wrap this up.
I was gonna say, because you didn't mention that you're going live, right?
Yeah, we got a witchy week.
Yeah, he's got a little witch in the chat. And massive thanks to everyone who tuned in the whole way through. Yep. And if you see this pop up on your YouTube feed, because we're gonna unlist this live stream as part of this experiment, we'll be posting it as a video. Consider opening it, watching it for a couple minutes, and hitting the like button. You can hit the like button on this video too, but on that one's the key if you want to help. We're testing this out to see the algorithm reach. We know a lot of us use YouTube, and we're testing these things out to report back to you. So if you see it, just give it a like, watch it for a couple minutes. The average view duration is key with YouTube, apparently, so from what we're finding. So yeah, we'll report back with all of our findings probably in 2-3 weeks. We want to test this for a little bit. But
we'll get them.
Anything else, Curtis, before we go?
No, I think that's it. Just again, thank you. Appreciate everyone. Love everyone. Thank you ever so much. Lovely to see you here week in, week out. And we're looking forward to next week. I'm already looking forward to next week.
Yeah, me too. I know. It's going to be a fun one. Eon Lake, what about you? Any final words?
I just love in my heart for the patrons. Bless them. Yeah. And for anyone who wants to listen to this and share time with us, thank you.
Yeah, it means the world. I mean, I think I say it for all of us, but this is the highlight of our week, just coming on, talking. It's always good to see you two. You keep me sane, let's be honest. And then just all of the patrons, everybody in the chat, it's always a ton of fun. It's the highlight of the week. So until the next highlight of the week, next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m., thanks for watching, and we will see you then.